You're doing everything right. You show up to work. You pay your bills on time. You're not reckless with money. You're not irresponsible. By every measure society uses to define financial stability, you're doing fine. And yet, at the end of every month, there's almost nothing left. Not because you spent it on something stupid. Not because you had a financial emergency. But because of one single pattern, a pattern so deeply embedded in the middle-class financial system that most people never even notice it is happening to them. A pattern that is designed, almost by accident, to keep you exactly where you are for the rest of your working life. But the real reason behind that is far more interesting than you think. Here is the mistake, and it is not what you expect. The mistake is not overspending. It is not failing to budget. It is not even a lack of discipline. The mistake every middle-class person makes with money is this. They spend first and save what is left. And what is left, almost without exception, is nothing. This sounds simple. It sounds obvious. But the implications of it are devastating, and almost nobody talks about what it actually costs you over a lifetime. Here is what happens inside the average middle-class financial life. Money arrives. Rent or mortgage comes out. Groceries. Insurance. Subscriptions. Car payment. Fuel. A dinner out once or twice. Some online shopping, a little here, a little there. And by the time the month ends, the idea of saving feels like it belongs to a different version of you. A future version, one who earns a little more, has a little more room, is in a slightly better position than today. So you tell yourself next month. And next month becomes the month after that. And the month after that becomes a year. And the year becomes a decade. This is not a money problem. This is a sequencing problem. In his foundational book, The Richest Man in Babylon, George Clason introduced what is still, after nearly 100 years, one of the most powerful financial principles ever written. Pay yourself first, before your landlord, before the grocery store, before the streaming services and the takeaway and the weekend plans. The first payment out of every paycheck belongs to your future self, not what is left over. The first portion, always. The reason this works is not motivational. It is structural. When you save what is left, you're asking your willpower to fight every spending impulse you have for an entire month and then hand over whatever survives at the end. Willpower, as you already know, depletes. It runs out. By the end of the month, it has been used up on hundreds of smaller decisions, and there is nothing left to protect your savings. But when you automate your savings the moment your money arrives, before you can see it, before your brain registers that it was ever there, you remove willpower from the equation entirely. The money is gone before the temptation exists. This is what behavioral economist Shlomo Benartzi discovered when he designed the Save More Tomorrow program, one of the most successful automatic savings interventions ever studied. Participants who automated their savings contributions in advance, before they received their next pay increase, saved dramatically more than those who were simply told to save more. The act of deciding in advance, before the money was tangible, bypassed the psychological resistance that normally stops people from saving. The money never felt like a loss because it never felt like theirs to spend in the first place. But here is where the middle-class trap goes deeper than just the savings habit. It is not only that middle-class people save last. It is that the entire financial structure built around the middle-class lifestyle is designed to consume every extra dollar the moment it appears. This is what economists call lifestyle inflation, and it is the invisible force that ensures the gap between earning more and building more wealth never seems to close. You get a raise. Your rent goes up because you feel you can afford a better apartment now. Your car payment goes up because the new salary justifies an upgrade. Your food budget quietly expands. Your wardrobe refreshes. Your holidays get slightly more expensive. None of these individual choices feel extravagant. Each one feels entirely reasonable given what you now earn. And yet 12 months later, despite earning significantly more than you did before, your savings look almost identical to what they were. Because every increase in income was immediately met with an equal or greater increase in lifestyle. Economist Robert Frank spent decades studying this phenomenon, which he described as expenditure cascades, the social pressure to match the spending patterns of those around you, driven not by greed, but by the invisible benchmarks of your peer group. When your colleagues drive newer cars, when your friends holiday in better places, when a neighborhood you move into has different baseline expectations, your brain recalibrates what normal looks like. And normal is expensive. The counterintuitive truth that most financial advice misses entirely is this. Wealth is not built by earning more. Wealth is built by consistently keeping the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Most middle-class people are extraordinarily good at earning more. They work hard, they get promoted, they build skills, they increase their income. And then they spend every single dollar of that increase and sometimes more because the lifestyle pressure expands automatically to fill the available income. The wealthy understand something different. They understand that the size of the gap between income and expenditure is the only number that actually matters. Not the salary, not the title, not the house. The gap. Warren Buffett, worth hundreds of billions of dollars, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,000. Not because he cannot afford otherwise, because he understood early that the moment you allow your lifestyle to expand with your income, you have handed the most powerful force in finance, compounding, to the retail economy instead of to yourself. And this is where the real cost of the middle-class mistake becomes almost incomprehensible. Every dollar you spend today is not worth a dollar. It is worth whatever that dollar would have grown to over time if it had been invested instead of spent. Financial educator J.L. Collins, in his book The Simple Path to Wealth, makes this point with devastating clarity. A dollar invested in a broad market index fund at age 25, left untouched for 40 years, becomes approximately $21 by retirement, without adding a single cent more, without doing anything at all except leaving it alone. Every $20 spent on something you do not need is not $20. Is $420 taken directly from the version of you that exists 40 years from now? Most people never think about money this way. They think about the price on the tag. They do not think about the opportunity cost, what that money would have become if it had been sent to work instead of spent. So what do you actually do about this? The first step is the most important one and also the simplest one. Decide right now what percentage of every paycheck you will keep, not save from what is left. Keep from the top. 10% is the traditional starting point from George Clason's work. But even 5%, automated immediately on payday, will outperform a 20% savings intention that runs on willpower alone. Set up an automatic transfer to a separate account the same day your salary arrives. A different bank, if possible, one with some friction to access. Make the money disappear before your brain knows it existed. The second step is to freeze your lifestyle the next time your income increases. When the raise comes, when the bonus arrives, when the side income starts generating, do not change a single thing about how you live. Take that entire increase and redirect it automatically to savings or investment. You lived on the old amount before. You can continue to live on it now. The increase was not real money until you received it. It does not have to become real spending either. The third step is to understand the difference between assets and expenses disguised as assets. Your car is not an asset. It is a depreciating liability that costs you money every single month in fuel, insurance, maintenance, and lost value. Your house may be an asset, or it may be the most expensive lifestyle expense you own, depending on your market and your mortgage. Robert Kiyosaki made this distinction famous in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and while his specific investment advice is debatable, this single framework, does this thing put money in my pocket or take money out, is one of the most clarifying financial questions you can ask about anything you own or are considering buying. The fourth step is the most psychologically difficult, and it is the one most financial advice books skip over entirely. You need to become comfortable being different from the people around you. Not richer, different. The social pressure of lifestyle inflation is real, and it is powerful, and it will follow you at every income level. When everyone around you is upgrading, holding still feels like falling behind. But falling behind socially and falling behind financially are not the same thing. In fact, for most middle-class people, they are exact opposites. The ones who look most financially successful, the newer car, the bigger house, the annual overseas holiday, are often the ones with the least actual wealth. And the ones quietly living below their means, apparently unremarkable, are the ones compounding their way to a freedom that most people will never experience. You have been taught your entire life to look financially successful. Nobody taught you to be financially free. Those are not the same thing. They're almost never the same thing. And the gap between them is the gap between spending first and saving first. Between a lifestyle that expands with every raise and a wealth gap that widens with every raise. Between a retirement that requires you to work until you physically cannot, and a retirement you choose on your own terms, on your own timeline. You're doing everything right by the rules you were given. The question is whether the rules you were given were ever designed to make you free.